Good morning, colleagues. Welcome to the Pretoria Region Pretoria event.
Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm David Samuelson, CEO of ISACA. What a year this has been. I've now been with ISACA for more than a year and a half, but given the events of this year, I have not had the opportunity to meet as many of you as I'd hoped to by now. One of the best parts about ISACA is our global network of passionate, dedicated members, and I am eager to get to know more and more of you. While COVID-19 has made that more difficult, I'm pleased that the positive potential of technology has never been so clear or so inspiring. So much of what we've done in person in the past can now be done online, and in a way, I'm able to connect to even more people than I could before, when I had to physically travel to events. I am grateful that the pandemic could not take away our opportunities to connect and learn from one another in meaningful ways at chapter events like this one, at our global conferences and virtual summits, and in our online communities. The world's pivot to virtual and online connection has made it easier than ever before for our 145,000 members to be truly one global community. Last year, ISACA celebrated 50th anniversary. This year, it's the first year of our next 50 years, and we have some exciting updates and upcoming news in store. For the first time ever, ISACA offers remote proctoring for our CISA, CISM, CGuide, and CRISC certifications. We launched this feature just a month after COVID-19 became a pandemic to ensure that no one's learning journey or career advancement would be impeded. ISACA is now offering guidance, learning, and credentials on privacy, in addition to audit, information security, governance, and risk. As part of our new privacy program, we launched the Certified Data Privacy Solutions Engineer Credential, or CDPSE, this year. Demand for this certification has exceeded all of our expectations, and it's clear that additional privacy guidance and resources is important to many of our members. ISACA's new foundation, One in Tech, recently had its public launch with a new website and a podcast program. The foundation focuses on diversity and equity in tech and strives to build a healthy digital world that is safe, secure, and accessible for all. ISACA also published new guidance and information to help you advance your knowledge and help your enterprises. The second edition of Risk IT was recently launched, and the first COVID focus area guide was released covering information security. ISACA also established a COVID-19 resource center that continues to be updated with new resources on topics from remote work to navigating risk and ensuring effective governance in a pandemic. I'm also happy to share that we received 2 industry awards this year for our Community Day and 50th anniversary program. Both were recognized for their ability to connect members in new and meaningful ways. On top of all those things, we launched our new branding and our new website earlier this year, setting the stage for ISACA's future as a modern learning organization with a focus on deeper engagement and digital innovation. None of these accomplishments would be possible without the efforts of ISACA professionals across the globe, including dedicated chapters like yours. Please join me in thanking your chapter leaders for today's event and for the many opportunities they provide you and your local professional community. I hope to see you in the near future and shake your hand when that becomes a possibility. But in the meantime, let's continue to connect how we can and let's dream about bright future of ISACA and our future communities. Together, ISACA professionals accomplish incredible things, and I can't wait to see what the next decades bring. Thanks for being an important part of ISACA and for being here today, and enjoy your event.
Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Dr. Cameron Modisane, and I'm the Pretoria Regional Director, and welcome to this ISACA Chapter Professional Forum, which is hosted by the Pretoria Regional Committee. Okay, firstly, I would like to introduce my committee to you. We've got Nambo Kwetana. He's a Senior IT Audit and Security Specialist. Then we've got Grace Itseka. He's the head of she's the head of IT and technology audit. She's got a CISA and a CIRISC. And then we've got Magabongwe Siziba, and he's a director at the PSA. He's of governance and ICT. I would like to kindly ask them to please switch on their mics, maybe to introduce themselves to you and say hello if they can. Type it in Nabo. Are you there? Grace?
Hi everyone. Good to be here. Hi everyone, good to be here. I'm at your service. Thank you so much, Dr. Cam.
Thank you. Magabonge?
Afternoon, everyone. Good to be here.
Thank you. Mnombo?
Yeah, hi guys. Afternoon, everyone. I think my background's a bit dark, but hi, everyone.
Yeah, you're in the dark there. Okay,
I am in the dark, right.
Welcome. Thank you. Okay, thank you to our guest speakers for being part of this meeting, and also for the planning and hosting this event. Just a couple of announcements. We are back at the office and ready to assist you. You can contact the ISACA chapter office. Our email address is info@isaca.org.za. And please note that we've changed our telephone number. This is the new number on the screen there. And also we've got a website address there which you can follow. And also we are available on all social media platforms such as Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and also please kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay. And other announcements, we welcome Lizanne Human, who has joined us as part of our team. She's our new office and finance manager. And also membership and certification renewals are open. Please, you are reminded to please renew the membership before the end of February. The deadline has been extended. And also note that please sign up for our new up and coming Popular Act workshop, which is happening on the 1st and the 2nd of March, on the 8th and also on the 9th of March. It will be hosted by Mr. Peter Hill. The price is about 1125, and please note that the prices are actually half price. They've been reduced substantially. And also, kindly sign up for our annual virtual conference, which is happening on the 7th and the 8th of June 2021. And there'll also be a post-conference workshop, which is available. So please, we will kindly inviting you to attend. And also, any corporates to please kindly assist the chapter in terms of sponsoring this event. We really appreciate your support. And also, we encourage you as our members to please apply for our professional designations at no cost. You can send your emails at isaca@isaca.org.za. These are for the information systems audit professional, and also the information systems security management professional designations. So please kindly submit your documentation, complete the forms in order for you to be part of this designation. And other important announcements include the fact that ISACA Journal Volume 1, 2021 is available for all members. And the theme is focusing on the workforce, around the new workforce included in the issue. Letter our ISACA CEO, please log on to our website and see that. And also, there's actually a new white paper on audit It talks about the IT perspectives on top technology risks for 2021. Please kindly log onto our website and see and read for that and read through that. And also, if you've got something that talks to blockchain, if you've got an interest around blockchain, please also go into our website and see some of the content that's actually being prepared for you to consume. Other announcements, we've got the advocacy group, which helps to champion the cybersecurity profession, and has been part of our founding member of the UK Cybersecurity Council, which has been established to strengthen our skill sets and in collaboration in launching in 2021. You can also find that on our website. Okay. Then now we're gonna introduce our first speaker, which is Dr. Mark Nasila. Just to give you a bit of background about our speaker, he's a chief analyst and analytics officer at FNB Risk. He's an experienced artificial intelligence, data science, and data analytics expert. He has ensured that techniques and methodologies that have been introduced at FNB. He has also been part of the banking industry, both locally and also internationally. Some of his career highlights include the awards being the developer and the brain behind the Manila and an AI system, which was used at FNB, which has been used as part of reimagining risk management and forensic due diligence processes within FNB. And Dr. Mark Nasila. Nasila is recognized both locally and also internationally as leading in terms of the development of the new and up-and-coming technologies and techniques and methodologies within highly competitive areas of artificial intelligence, data science, machine learning. He has also presented a number of papers locally and internationally, in conferences such as Business Tech, Digital Banking, South Africa, the Chief Data Science Analytics Forum within South Africa and also within the UK, and also European Simulation and Modeling Conference. He's also a PhD and a master's course supervisor and external examiner at various institutions around South Africa in artificial intelligence, data science, and statistics. Dr. Nasila has published and written opinion pieces in publications such as the Business Day, Daily Maverick, CIO, Talk Network, Corellium Intelligence, and also European Simulations and Modeling Association. He holds a PhD in mathematical statistics from the Nelson Mandela University, and also a Singularity U University Executive Program alumni. He was named as one of the Corellium Global Intelligence for 2020 top 100 innovators in data science and also in analytics. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Dr. Mark Nasila.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Cameron, for that monumental introduction. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to come and speak to you, Eugene, Mnombo, and the rest of the committee for affording me the opportunity to share with you some of my experiences in technology and how we expect technologies to impact the future. We are at a time where the world is going through a transformation, not just a pandemic. And you do realize that every single organization is reimagining itself using technology, every single organization. And yourselves as well, you're here for the same reasons, to understand the role of technology. Some of you are here to upskill and understand where you can contribute in terms of your getting more skills. But for me, as a technology expert and futurist, I'm normally interested in explaining where the next frontier is likely to be going. And as I said, every area has been affected. And I thought, to set the scene, I should look at reviewing with you the recruitment industry. Why? Because the recruitment industry is massive. All of us had to go through a recruitment process to join a company. Some of you are busy recruiting, and it's got different challenges. There's scarcity of skills. You have to look for people through different digital channels, LinkedIn, and some of you are looking for jobs, and you're sending your CVs to friends to distribute them for any opportunities. But this is one of the area that is being reimagined by a technology which you commonly know as artificial intelligence, which deals with making systems, processes to behave with the same intelligence as human beings. Please have a look at this and listen to the clip before we continue.
We can't hear anything, Dr. Mark. Maybe try to check your settings there. We can't hear anything from our side. Dr. Mark?
Yes?
We can't hear anything. The sound is not coming through. Maybe you can start sharing your slides.
Yeah. Can you hear it now?
I'm sorry, I don't think you fit our profile. Always experience
It's fine now, thanks.
projects, and the majority of them on time and within budgetary estimates.
Well, you have all the qualifications and experience for this role. It seems like you're the perfect candidate.
Really? Thank you.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure, Nadia.
All right, thank you. I just want to give you a bit of a background about this robot, Vera, which is a robot developed in Russia by Alexander Oraksin. And it's being used by the likes of PepsiCo, L'Oreal, and banks in Europe to help organizations facilitate the process of recruitment. Vera has been developed using recruitment data from candidates, job specifications, and its purpose is basically to help streamline and put together information, aggregate it, and provide a certain number of candidates, prospective candidates for these companies, so that they can get quickly to the right candidates, because the recruitment process is tedious. And this is very, very, very similar to the reality that the pandemic has brought to us. As an example, as an organization, or those of you are from different organizations, we've had to resort to remote ways of working, and therefore your organizations had to strategize in making sure technology is assisting you with keeping up. You have to scale up digital channels, not just the way you engage with your customers or service providers, but the way you also engage between yourselves within your organizations. You also have to implement flexible terms for customers, because the current conditions have financially affected everyone economically. You have to repurpose the current staff because there had been new challenges that have come into your organizations. Some of you have had to offer your products and services at a very, very, very low cost. And without technology, some of your businesses will not even be running. And when you look at it closely, even before the pandemic, the world was already going through a transformation driven by emerging technologies. This is what the president and the founder of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, called the fourth industrial revolution. the emerging technologies that were bringing the physical, biological, and digital worlds together, while at the same time changing how we live, how we relate to each other, how we run our processes, reimagining every aspect of life. So when we talk about emerging technologies, we're referring to technologies such as artificial intelligence, or commonly known as AI, which is a branch of computer science that deals with making processes or systems or objects behave intelligently as human beings. You've got IoTs, autonomous cars, advanced robotics, and augmented reality. And normally, the question comes up, why have these technologies not been active before? Why are they picking up so much actively today? And there are various reasons, but there are two main reasons that have driven the acceleration of these technologies redefining the future. The first one, the growth and development of computing power. In the past few years, we've seen the growth and development of computing power accelerated. Computers are able to process a lot of information and execute functions to as close as human beings. In fact, we're looking at 2028, where it's predicted that at that time, with the present acceleration, the systems of today or the systems of that time will be able to execute functions as accurate and as well as human beings. So the computing power is very, very important. The other part which you might be familiar with is the growth of big data. And data refers to all the information being collected from different systems. With digitization being embedded in society, each and every one of us has got a digital gadget, a phone, or even sensors. We're now seeing exponential growth of unstructured data, from complaints, human comments on social media, cell phone interactions, and 88% growth of all this information of human data. We're also seeing continuation of structured data. Previously, organization had structured data that was being derived mainly from systems such as transactional data and maybe information from digital channels that were not closely linked to the digital channels that are embedded in society. Now, this is happening across all industries. Just to take you through examples, you have, for example, China that has over 70 million surveillance cameras, which are leveraging deep learning AI technologies to enable surveillance. So surveillance will never be the same again. And for those of you who have traveled internationally, you'll realize now that nowadays you go to the airport, you don't really need people sitting at the till and looking at your documents, validating whether they're accurate or not. In fact, just by looking at a document, it doesn't make it safer. These capabilities have the ability to look for detail which human beings cannot see. The field of medicine, biology, and agriculture will never be the same again because of emerging technologies. Doctors are now able to perform experiments, get into the body and look for detail that they could not see beforehand, including we've got now RoboDoc, which is enabling doctors in Europe and different areas perform operations remotely. So you could be sitting in the future, you could be in Pretoria lying in bed, and the doctor enabled by a machine in Cape Town performs an operation on you. Drones and robots are helping with precision agriculture. Now you can accurately determine which crop is infected, the location, and you're able to provide precision insecticide or cure to plants that are affected. If you want further convincing, the education and training industry is being reimagined. You go to Dubai now, calculus and mathematics are being taught by robots. And the reason is we're not going to have tomorrow many mathematics and science teachers across the world. There's naturally a shortage of teachers, and therefore, if you can have algorithms together with technologies such as augmented reality, collect all this data and facilitate educating society, especially where there's scarcity of teachers, it takes these things to the next level. Let's look at autonomous cars. I was very, very lucky to visit Tesla a few years ago. And autonomous cars was almost like a myth. And right now, what you don't realize is that on average, 1.2 million people are killed because of accidents. And 94% of these accidents are attributed to the fact that we as humans have errors. There's very little information we can process, mistakes. Sometimes we get drunk, sometimes we don't see other cars. This is going to reimagine the future. Tesla is now operational. In fact, what you see at the bottom there, bottom right, is a Tesla car that is being summoned by a customer. Some of you have been shopping before, and you'll see that you come up with luggage out of the shopping center. You can start a Tesla car with your phone and summon it to come to you so that you can put your luggage in the car. A final example is the architectural industry. On the left there is the first AI-generated house design, which was just completed by a guy called Stanislas from the University of Harvard as part of his PhD. Now, construction, architectural design will be done at a cheaper rate, affordable to everyone, but also we're going to easily get designs that we desire. On the right there is a company called Drone Deploy, which puts together drones that can fly into very complex and dangerous areas. For example, power plants. ESCOM is a good example where you would want to collect data on image data to understand exactly what potential failures are likely to be happening there. The key message is every single industry is being reimagined with these technologies. Now, in the next section, we need to understand, but how do we reimagine ourselves? And just by having technology doesn't really mean you're going to be successful. And this is where you need to reflect. I want to go back, to the first industrial revolution, where the British decided, no, we need to reimagine the way we move from A to B. They used to use horse-drawn wagons. They went back to the drawing board and decided, no, let's invent the steam engine. And they invented the steam engine. They repurposed the whole way of moving from A to B. Another example, in the 70s and 60s, the Americans used to fly the Apollo Saturn V to the moon for research purposes. It cost them about $1.2 billion of today's present value. Elon Musk came with the SpaceX Falcon Heavy program, reimagined the whole rocket, used renewable technologies, like, for example, 3D printed generated titanium with soft landing bars, which allowed the SpaceX to go to the moon, lift the Tesla, and land using soft pads, with allowing him to reuse the same materials for the next trip. It cost him less than 10% of what it cost Saturn V. The message I'm trying to tell you here is that the role of technology is not to take your old processes and put them on these technologies. You have to reimagine your value proposition so that you can reimagine the future. So it's not just about digitization. In fact, when you look around closely, digitization is expected. Everyone has a digital phone. And 84% of companies fail at digitization because you're taking your old systems, your old functions, and putting them on digital platforms. So you have to think of first principle thinking. So when you're thinking of reimagining yourself, think like an Elon Musk, or think like Jack Ma, who said, I want to reimagine the payment industry, and that is the only way you can drive digitization, through reimagining your processes. The implications are very severe for organizations. In this graph, I want to take you through, you'll see the red line of organizations like Kodak, who decided, no, we are comfortable, we're never going to be disrupted. And then blue is companies who research and demonstrate value through existing technologies, and basically take your old value proposition and put on them. And then the green one are the first principle thinkers, the ones who look into the future. They say, how do we change the future? So those are like the Elon Musk, you know, or like the British in the 1750s who said, let's change the process so that we execute this function in a totally different way. And you will see that at the end of the game, they win. They totally disrupt everyone because they offer services, similar services at a cheaper rate, much more efficiently at a low cost, or even disrupt other businesses. The result of first principle thinkers has led to the exponential growth on, and you've got unicorns, and unicorns are basically privately owned, startups that are valued more than $1 billion. And you've seen a lot of them offering services that other organizations are offering. And therefore, the customer of today, who's globalized and technological, has access to services across the world at the lowest cost possible. What does this mean for our strategies? How does an organization strategize given this thinking? So the word strategy comes from a Greek word, strategiki porokliki, which means let's put components of things together so that we can achieve something in the future. And in every organization, strategies are driven by people and culture. So you have to have the right competent people driving the culture. And this includes putting every component together, from data strategies that support technologies, have the right skills, technology, infrastructure, change management, to making sure that everyone across the organization is in the same journey with what you're trying to, not only what you're trying to achieve, but how you're trying to achieve. But there's something else that has made it complex, is society. Society has expectations from every organization, and the expectations are defined in the sustainable goals, sustainable development goals, which are basically domains of areas where society needs us as organizations to design products and services while solving for these challenges. So, a normal customer would ask, what else are you bringing to the table? Are you solving for poverty? Is your product also helping with hunger, good health? And that is what is complicating things. So you have to develop people and to drive a culture that designs solutions that not only drive the company's objectives, but also contributes solutions to the whole world. And this means changing the approach, because what we've been doing is using our digital channels to just offer products, digitizing things. What is happening today, we're now not only offering products and services, but offering solutions through digital channels. So this is what we call the ubiquitous strategy. I want to take you through two examples before we start going towards the end of the talk. In 2014, Elon Musk decided, okay, I'm going to share all my IP for Tesla with the whole world. For a company that was very young at that time, it was only selling 22,000 cars a year. Everyone was shocked why he decided to do that. When he was asked, I want you to listen to his response.
Tesla CEO Elon Musk has just announced on the company's website that the company is going to be opening up all of its patents for other automakers and others in the auto industry to use.
It is rare and it is bold. Tesla is sharing its secrets, opening its patents for the world to see.
We haven't seen this type of move from any automaker.
What is driving your recent decision to essentially not pursue intellectual property claims on your own patents?
But I think it's important to bear in mind that we're really all on the same ship, of being Earth. If Tesla succeeds, but then the sort of climate is destroyed, I'm not sure that actually helps Tesla. A ship-based analogy might be appropriate here, where it's like, let's say there's a bunch of people on a ship and there's a bunch of holes in the ship, and we're quite good at sort of bailing the water out of our section. And we've invented this nice bucket. It would be foolish of us not to share that bucket design. because if the ship goes down, we're going with it.
You guys are the proof of concept from a market perspective. If you start making a lot of money, if you start showing that people will buy your car, then you're going to see the rest of the industry flood in.
Exactly.
Thank you. So all along, Elon Musk put together Tesla not to compete against the peer cars or the same industry, but he was he was interested in saving the environment. And after sharing his IP, you can see that the share price of Tesla, how it went by, and everything else is history. The lesson is you don't have sometimes to be obsessed with your competitors and lose the bigger picture. The same thing is happening in Dubai. They've got what's called the Smart Dubai program, which makes sure that you have to commit to helping to helping create value in solving society's problem. In fact, when you look at their logo, one of their logos, they've made sure that you embed and align to the sustainable development goals. When you look at those two examples, it's clear that when you decide to solve for society, it's not just philanthropism, but there is economic value. In fact, for those of you who followed the World Economic Forum last year, just by solving 4 or 5 of the Sustainable Development Goals, there was about $13 trillion of economic value that you could create as opportunities. And this is a way which different sectors can get to work together to solve for society. So think about how your sector can collaborate with other sectors to what we call the fourth sector, a cross-section of all these sectors. But having said this, not every organization is succeeding with adopting technology. In fact, there's a big worry that there's a new form of inequality that is being created by technology, because the organizations that are adopting technology well are going far away. This pandemic has shown us that countries like China and America have dealt with the pandemic much better because they're much more agnostic. The culture of technology is like an orchestra. Everyone has to be in sync. You can't have a lot of people doing just their own thing in your organization, speaking a different language, and that is holding a lot of organizations back. There's over billions. In South Africa alone, we saw over 1.6 billion of amounts being invested in technology. Doesn't mean the value is being gotten out of. The whole country, the whole organization has to speak the same language around what technology is, the role of technology, including data, which is basically the fuel of technologies. And therefore, it is important you drive AI, data, and technology literacy programs so that you can speak the same language. This includes, for example, understanding the fundamentals of data and artificial intelligence, understanding analytical methods, understanding how to speak the right terminology, and how to identify opportunities for improvement within your organization, including storytelling, because there's a lot of fear being created around technology, jobs, some of which is justifiable, but through knowledge, we will understand there's an element of accountability to minimize these risks so that we can help the organizations. Data privacy, bias, all of them are issues that are cropping up across the world, and they're becoming an entry into the game of reimagining the future with technology. And if we don't solve for them, we're likely to be left behind. So our organizations need technology. To finish off, each and every one of you, you need to start thinking about the future and reimagining yourself from today, because it might be too late if you realize that when you've already been disrupted by anyone else. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark, for that presentation. Just to remind you, we are running a quiz competition on the chat box. So if you kindly answer those questions there, we're going to announce winners towards the end of the program. And also, this is the Q&A session. So if you've got any questions for Dr. Mark, please kindly ask them about the topic which he has just presented to us. You can type them on the chat box. if you've got any pressing questions that you would like to ask him. I'll wait for you guys to type something. Okay, while we're waiting for someone to type, I think so far we've got about 2 questions which have been asked. You can also type your answers there. Any questions for Dr. Mark that you might have? Are we all comfortable?
Is there maybe people are shy?
I don't know, maybe people are shy or something like that.
There's no question that is bad enough. Any question to clarify something, any rumor you've heard about technology?
Or maybe let me okay, while we're waiting for them, let me ask you. I know that there's big talk around 4IR happening. Do you think as a country, South Africa, we're actually ready for that? Especially in our education sector, also in government as well, in our public sector entities. Do you think we're gearing up from your perspective around AI, machine learning, etc.?
So we are ready, and we've been ready for some time. Why am I saying that? First of all, we've got problems to solve using emerging technologies. We also realize the challenges we face cannot be solved with human approaches. For example, think about energy. The challenges we face with energy, the power plant failures need proactive solutions. For example, we need to integrate renewable energy to our systems so that we can help reimagine the future of energy. Our education system needs technology, the health industry, our ways of working. We cannot keep up if we continue doing things the old way. I think the problems and our strategy of where we want to be as a country may need to make us realize that you cannot keep waiting. Or else we're going to end up being consumers of technologies from other areas. We also have a problem with jobs. Jobs are not going to create themselves. We need this technology to help create new manufacturing industries. If we reimagine the energy industry, there's a whole set of jobs that will be created. And these are jobs that are more comfortable than the more manual jobs which machines can do for us at a faster and cheaper rate. At the end of the day, we also, remember, need to fit in globally. We don't want other countries to go far away and then we end up being almost a colony of technology where, because they are leading the practice, we're going to go by what they're saying, listen to what they're saying and follow across, including things like governance. Remember, someone who's built something is the one who defines the rule of engagement and the rule of how the products should be used.
Okay, here's a question here from Jaisha China. It says, what are the measurement of sensors? What about measurement of sensors?
So what is the question? What is the measurement of sensors?
What about them? I think she's asking, what about them? Measurement of sensors in terms of
how technology can help with that.
Yes.
Okay, that's a very good question. So,
or the accuracy of the measurement. That's what she just said. Yeah.
Technology is much better at performing sensors and counting of people and objects better than us human beings. You must keep in mind, technology is not affected by emotions and certain limitations. That company I told you about, Drone Deploy, which I visited with the Singularity team in 2019. What it also uses drones for is you can send a drone to a traffic and it can count the traffic congestion and come back to you and tell you, maybe this is not the right route. Because sometimes you can use Google Maps and you get committed to a certain route and not realize once you're there, by the time you get there, things have changed. They use them also to understand the distribution of shopping centers. They do use them to count the expected number of crops and things like that, so that you can have planning of sometimes your budgets and things like that. So remember drones basically collect a lot of data of objects, and you use those objects from they convert the objects into data, which you can basically do something similar to the sensors.
Okay, thank you. Next question would be, Dr. Mark, in your opinion, what would be the most important consideration when planning and scoping for an audit of emerging technologies, typically and broadly? So I would assume this will be an IT audit, yeah?
So, and if I understand the question correctly, there are two areas which audit can play a big role. First of all, audit can help in making sure as an organization, as a country within the organization, there is a correct understanding and alignment towards the application and opportunities where a company is reimagining with technology. And that's why I talked about literacy. Because if anyone is not aligned, it means the organization is wasting on opportunities, and everyone, it will take the organization more longer and expensive to realize its objectives. So audit can make sure that they, monitor their processes, monitor strategies, monitor spend. Do you have the right expertise? When people are talking about artificial intelligence, are they all referring to the same thing? When you're making investment around data, is it the right data? Are we in line with the international standards? And culture is important. And I'll give you an example. One of the key reasons America and China are ahead is because of culture. America has got two different things driving their culture. They have skills. They've created what's called a funnel of skills from across the globe. It's easy to get a visa to America when you've got a special skills that contribute to technology. And then their universities are driving the development of new technologies for the world to consume. China, if you go to China, a small boy in the street can assemble for you a phone. And obviously they'll come and sell it to us at 100 times the price, right? And culture of execution is important. In fact, in China, when you sign a job contract, they got something called 996. It means you're gonna be working from 9 to 9, 6 times a week, and it's just execution. Then the second part where audit is to reimagine itself. So the audit process sometimes can be very manual. There's much more focus on the tick box other than the execution of the purpose of the audit process. So the audit people have to reimagine the process, get to conclusions much quicker, allow machines to do much more tedious work like data collection, including collecting from people, use machines to collect voice data. For example, that robot Vera, it can collect, Vera can interview 1,500 people for the same job in 1 week and shortlist people. The same thing you can do in audit, collect data, analyze much, much more faster. Another example similar to audit, actually, and maybe I should have mentioned in this conversation, and it's something you did when I was during the introduction. I built a system called Manila. Manila is an AI system that is reimagined our forensic process. So from a process where analysts used to collect hundreds and thousands of data about a customer or a process, put together insights, graphs, after that, write a report, then take the report for quality assurance and sign off. Manila does 90% of that process in 8 seconds. Our analysts' role has changed. Why? They've almost functionally been promoted to doing quality assurance and providing a feedback to Manila so that Manila can get better and better as new scenarios come in the forensic space. So there's two massive areas in the audit space that the AI can streamline and create efficiencies so that you're cost efficient, but also people can focus on things that require reasoning and creativity.
Okay, two last questions. Maybe we can be brief on this because I'm just wary of time. It says, in the next 3 years, which technologies will have the biggest impact in South Africa, in your opinion, and why? And then last one says, medical aids are using artificial intelligence platforms to assess claims from doctors. It seems as though the process was biased, as most of those claims identified those practitioners which were African. What's your view given the perceived unfairness of the process. I remember there was a report in the media with regards to this, which happened, I think, about by advocate Tembeka Ngatobi about a month or two ago. What's your thoughts with regards to that?
All right, so let's start with the first one. I think the biggest technology is artificial intelligence, because there's a clear need to streamline processes and be efficient at executing functions and allow us as human beings to focus on the right things. So AI can perform, tedious and repetitive functions much better and quicker and accurately than us. We have limitations. We can process very little information at a time. But we also have to appreciate the fact that we will need machines to be better at what we do. Machines cannot do human jobs. Machines cannot reason. Machines cannot strategize. Machines can execute our strategies. The second biggest technology, which I think is big data, because there is a fuel of other technologies. It's among the emerging technologies. And I'll tell you why. Artificial intelligence, in fact, when people talk about emerging technologies, normally they use artificial intelligence to actually generalize a lot of function, a lot of capabilities within it. But without data, you can't do anything, because AI systems require data. So there will be a drive towards, putting digital sensors across the world to be able to collect data. So a lot of technologies, like for example, drone technologies, their main sole purpose is to collect data from where people could not go. Think about going into a power plant. It's very dangerous. It costs a lot, but you could fly, a drone at like less than 100 Rand into power plant and get the images on a daily basis and collect data. So big data, collecting all types of information will be key. Human information, interaction information, I must just tell you, one of the key things that has been predicted by 2024, the amount of data that will have been generated in the world will be like 4 or 5 times all conversations in the world, all languages. So big data is key, and artificial intelligence. Then others will continue growing steadily over time. The second question is a very complex question, and I want to answer it in general because bias is an issue that affects all areas, not just the medical industry. When you look at bias, and basically this is, when we say something is biased, it's having an outcome that is very different from what was expected. And it could have resulted from data, for example, a wrong data set that was used, maybe because the previous process had biases, and therefore the data set that was collected ended up affecting the algorithm that is being built. You could also have issues with the people who are building these AI systems. They're not diverse enough. They misunderstand the problem that they're solving, and they solve it based on their experiences. That's why it's important organizations have diverse teams, and not, including women. Already the world is in this, the technology area is it's not accommodated women, and that's why there's a key push to involving them, because if you have a diverse team, you basically develop heterogeneous solutions because populations are heterogeneous. But the key message I'm trying to put across is data is one source of bias. People are one source of bias. All systems are one source of bias. Lack of understanding of culture is another source of bias. In China, if you go, in China, when they say Xi Jinping, it's actually the surname followed by the name. If you pronounce it the other way around, they'll feel you're biasing their culture and you're being disrespectful. All these types of biases result from human failures. And for us to fix that, we have to fix human competencies before we take them to machines. It's a human being who set up a team that is not diverse. It's a human being who decided to work with a data set that was not complete and representative. It's a human being who decided to make a decision on a culture or communicate with someone without understanding their culture. For example, I've seen a case where someone decides to call someone. There was a case where someone was called, "Oh, we've predicted you're pregnant," right? It might be a good prediction, but so what? In some cultures, people want to keep pregnancies a surprise, right? So your prediction can be scientifically correct, but it's not useful culturally. And even if you make that prediction, there are different ways. Maybe you could tell someone, go use our products and get discounts at baby stores, other than calling them to tell them, we know you're pregnant. So it's human weaknesses, whether it's a medical industry or retail industry. The Boeing 737 MAX was another classic example where an AI system that was developed to help cut costs of fuel resulted to killing a lot of people. It was human guys who rushed the strategy. They could have taken time so that they develop a system that has reliable data to enable the plane navigate all types of conditions. So it comes back to holding us as human beings available. So in your frameworks, don't just focus on technology, data. You must also drive human competencies, hold human beings accountable so that we can build better machines.
Okay, no. So thank you so much, Dr. Mark. I will, so we're going to end it here with you for now. Our next speaker is Letticia Mahlangu. Letticia is a head of audit of quality assurance and reporting at EOH Group. When she was tasked with the development of the execution of the functions of the quality assurance and improvement program strategy, roadmap to maturity and audit methodology. Her role drives governance within the internal auditing function and ensures that the function is compliant with the Institute of Internal Auditors international standards and professional practices of internal auditors. Letticia was part of the forum involved in the driving and the implementation of the combined assurance program within the EOH Group. Her passion for combined assurance and approach in its implementation began in the year 2015, where she started her master's in philosophy qualification in internal auditing at the University of Pretoria. Her research paper focused on the challenges in the implementation of combined assurance, specifically in the area of the telecommunications sector. Letticia Mahlangu served as a board member for the Institute of Internal Auditors from 2018, South Africa, from 2018 up to 2020. Letticia believes in growing young people and up-and-coming audit professionals through knowledge sharing, mentoring, coaching, be it internal auditors or IT auditors. And she believes that our professionals need to think about their client business relationships from a technology enabler point of view perspective going forward. Letticia is a seasoned professional in the area of internal auditing, regulatory assurance, compliance, enterprise risk management, policy, and procedures assessments in both private and public sector environments for over 14 years. She delivered successful internal auditing and risk advisory services projects in state-owned entities, regulatory bodies, life insurance, cell captive insurance companies, pension and provident funds, medical schemes, etc., and including JSE listed security companies. Apologies for that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Letticia Mahlangu. Take it away, man.
Thank you for that introduction, Dr. Cameron. Thank you so much. And thank you to our previous speaker, Dr. Mark. You did very well there. Thank you so much for that, for sharing that info. It's always good to interact with the likes of Mark, Dr. Mark. As auditors, I think we also need to evolve. And I think we have started for a while now to evolve. But thank you so much. Without wasting any further time, I think the agenda of the day, what I'm going to take you through, the introduction, I think Dr. Cameron did justice there. I'm going to just take you through the understanding of the emerging technologies, and I'm going to piggyback a lot on what Dr. Mark has highlighted already. and I'm going to spend a bit of time on the risks that are introduced by these technologies, and also the impact that these technologies have on our profession as risk and advisory specialists. Can this slide, I'm not going to spend too much time. I think Dr. Cameron did justice for it. Thank you. So before I dive into my presentation, I just want to start with this quote from Susan Hill, one of the American television producers and author, and an advocate for arts and education, that if you are too comfortable, then it's time to move on. And if you're terrified of what's next, then you must know you're not on the right track. Having said that, I'm not saying this for people who are married, in good marriages and lifetime partners, because that's how it should be in marriage. It should be comfortable. But I'm bringing this quote because if you look at our profession as risk and advisory specialists, here I'm including everyone, be it internal auditors, external auditors, IT auditors, your risk specialists, governance, compliance. I'm including everyone in the line of assurance. We need to move with the time. Gone are those days where we're comfortable with our approaches on how we do things. And I think the emerging technologies are proving that we need to gear up. We need to lift our game. We need to be tech savvy. And I understand, when the likes of Dr. Mark, when they speak these heavy languages, I know he tried not to use too much technical language. We tend to fear to step away. We fear, no, I'm not a tech person. I'm not a tech person. But I think we need to spend time understanding these technologies because that's where we're going. And I think on my last slide, I'm going to take you through when I look at the impact, how this is impacting us as professionals, how we need to actually respond to this. So,
teacher?
Yes.
Can you just put your presentation on full screen, please?
Oh, okay.
On the top left-hand corner. Thanks.
I will do that. I will do that. All right, there you go. So I'm not going to go too much into detail. I think this was covered in the previous by Dr. Mark in quite detail, and there were lots of examples of this. But I think what I would like to stress from as risk and advisor, or let me say, I'll refer to us as assurance providers. We need to take our time and spend with the technology guys, with the technical guys, and with the likes of Dr. Mark. Get an understanding in terms of, because remember, businesses are introducing these emerging technologies to drive stakeholder value, to create value for the stakeholders, and to drive efficiencies for the organizations. And these are also having a great positive impact on our social and economies. So we need to embrace this, and we need to also be part of this, not stand by and come when things, when wheels come off. But we need to be part of the teams that are driving these technologies. There were questions that were asked around, what do we do about the moral questions? I mean, there are a lot of ethics issues that have been raised when we speak of these technologies, artificial intelligence, the simulation of human intelligence in machines. So meaning you're giving a machine a capability, for visual perception, speech recognition, and also for decision making. Let's take, for example, a car that has been, that has artificial intelligence. Now, if it's on the road and there are 5 people crossing, and they are not crossing because these are programmed. So the car is programmed to stop at the next robot. But if people are crossing the road, now there's one passenger. Now, what should the car do? Should it just go and hit the guys? There's 5 people versus 1 person, or should it just take a bridge and kill 1 person? And who gives it that authority to decide who lives and who doesn't live, who dies? So those are the questions that during the process of developing these technologies, as assurance people, we need to be asking these questions with the guys. We need to be sitting on the table with them and understand how these things will be impacting. As much as they will be transforming lives, we need to be looking at that. I mean, we are looked at to provide insights around these technologies. And what do these mean? I mean, you look at the likes of your 5G. This is a great thing. I mean, the telecommunications are smiling all the way to the bank, but not only them. I mean, this is good for all of us. I mean, the IoT devices, they will be connected, and the speed, the increased speed, coverage, and reliability of these. I mean, I can start my washing machine when I'm at work. I don't need to be home to do that. So I can program all those things. You can connect all your things, your alarm systems, everything is interconnected. But we know there are risks that comes with these things. We need to understand that there are privacy issues. Again, we need to understand how we can then protect users, and the information, the customer information on this. But we need to first look at the benefits that these bring and understand the risks and work with business in bringing the solutions to address this. Blockchain, I'm not going to dive into detail. I think he covered it quite nicely in terms of what this is. These are mainly just your distributed databases technology. There's security protocols on them where the parties that are involved, some of them, they try to take away the middle person so that they can deal directly with each other. If you look at the likes of your Bitcoin, which is a digital currency, also known as your cryptocurrency. I mean, so here you transfer this electronic form of funds from one user to the next user without anyone involved in them. But we need to understand if there is an infection there, if there is an error, and then what does it mean to the entire blockchain value chain? Internet of Things, I think I've touched on it. So these ones is all the devices, that are embedded with sensors, software, and other technologies. They connect with each other. They exchange data with each other over the internet. So I'm going to touch on the risks. I don't want to go into it now, but we'll understand the risk that comes with all of that. It's all nice, but we need to understand how are the risks and how we manage them. I mean, the idea is not if you over-manage those risks, then what are you saying? You mustn't bring these technologies. That's not going to happen. These are here to stay, and they will evolve over time. I mean, IoT is not really new now. It's being developing over time, but it will become popular when the likes of your 5G come in. They will start speeding up. Robotic process automation. This is happening fast. So those are some of the things that we need to look at, like your service desk automation. Companies are automating lots of, especially your repeatable processes. So one of the reasons on this is create efficiencies. You've seen in lots of areas that human interaction has been removed, and instead they're using robots. They're using bots. They're using chats. The chat bots. So which is good, but it means then what do we do with those people? Yes, these are likely to, or not likely, but there will be an employment aspect that gets impacted negatively here. But I think the importance is on upskilling people, and I think we can focus because all these technologies. I mean, there's many of them, but I just also focus on these 5. So all these technologies. What does it mean? They simply mean you're going to have lots of big data. There's lots of big data. Mark spoke about the structured and unstructured data. So meaning we need to now spend more time analyzing this data. We've seen marketing companies. They are now focusing on this from a perspective where they want the data to provide foresight. What do our companies want? I've seen during my time at one of the telecommunications company is they spend more time on analyzing the data to understand what is it that actually people do when they are on their phones, so that they can cater solutions for those customers, for customers, because you don't want to just bring a solution that doesn't really make any difference to customers, but you want to focus on things that will make a difference to the customers. So it means then there's a shift on some of the processes. Yes, you will automate, but you will need more resources analyzing those and understanding where we're going with those items. Now, in terms of the risks, I think there's a number of them that were discussed during the Q&A in the previous presentation. I think one of the biggest risks, if you look at all these emerging technologies that organizations are implementing to drive efficiencies, to create value creation, one important thing we need to look at, the key risk is the culture. Remember, your culture drives your strategy. And we need to focus on those. We need to look at those and understand our information systems, including these emerging technologies to bring solutions to when we service our customers. Are these aligned to our strategy and ultimately our culture? Because it is the culture that's going to drive the risk component and the management of these risks. Cybersecurity, there's a number of risks. And these risks, yes, as the emerging technologies gain momentum, they are coming in hard and fast. Cybersecurity, I mentioned these are bringing big data. So we're gonna have big data. So now what has become key and what has become an asset in organizations, not just products, but it's your data. It's your information, your customer information. So cybersecurity is a big thing that we need to look at, where they are attacking your computers, your networks, and they use ransomware, malware, phishing, using through your emails, so that they can capture data and they can make you either to pay a handsome of money to them, or they can use this to steal trademarks, trade secrets. So these are the things we need to look at. Data breaches. You know, you are hit by a cyber attack, you are surely to have data breaches, someone steals. Now this can happen from outside of the company or actually inside the company. That's how I was talking about culture earlier. And we need to, so awareness is very important. We need to drive a culture of awareness, of training our employees, training our customers, training our third parties. But some of the data is being hosted by third parties. Do we know how robust their controls are and their systems? We need to look at those, and we need to, as assurance providers, we need to be driving the culture of constantly making people aware in partnership with business and the information security functions within the IT departments and customers. If you are an in-house internal audit, partner with those guys. They need to drive awareness constantly in terms of what that cyber crimes mean and data breaches. And because this not only you're just going to have a cybersecurity attack, or they're just going to steal data, but there's then litigations that are going to follow because customer data have leaked. Well, this can include credit card numbers, customer data, trade secrets. So we need to be careful on this. And unauthorized access to systems, and this is one of the biggest things. It happens in a number of ways. It's either they use this, they get people's credentials or account, or using other methods through hacking, and then they get access to critical system in organizations. And I think this is one of the things that as assurance providers, all jointly, and you will notice I'm using, I'm bulking all of us in one bucket, because I think one of those days that, yes, as much as you have a first line, second line, third line, but I think as second line, third line, and fourth line, we need to work together in terms of providing that insight and sharing information and creating that awareness around data or information security, because all of this speaks to your information security within the company, and how people actually share accesses. We need to be aware of this, especially in call centers. I mean, they do this, it's not a problem to them. And you find out they have access to critical systems, especially like your revenue generating, your revenue systems, where you actually get, or systems that are linked to your financial system that are merging. So we need to be careful, and we need to look at these things. And the next one, so here I'm just giving some of the examples. I mean, we've seen lots of hacking. You know, Mimecast has been hacked. The cybersecurity disrupted printing in a US major US paper, data breach of SA. And look at the cost. I mean, this is just in 2020. We're in 2021 now, and this is average 40.2 million. I mean, I'm sure this figure is on billions. And if you look worldwide, what these data breaches have done, the litigations around this, and I will touch also on another aspect, which is regulatory. Regulatory, I mean, POPI is here, right? POPI is here. and it's got its requirements. And those are the things where you will find litigations hitting your desk when your customer information is on the media, you know, when it was supposed to be secured. And the questions will be asked, how were your controls? How did you implement your controls? You know, how often do you do your scans around the strength of your controls, your firewalls, and all of that? So those are very important. So now POPI, you know, it enforces that when you're collecting customer data, what are you using it for? Number one, where is it going? Number two, and where are you storing it? Are you sharing it with third parties? You know, what are the controls? Have you done a third-party risk assessment on those guys, on their systems? You know, so those are the companies needs to be responding to those questions, and they need to be gearing up their processes heavily to make sure that in each and every business process, where is customer data sitting? Not only customer data, also employee data. That's another part that we then tend to neglect, but that's another part we also need to protect. Our employees are also our customers. So we need to look at those things. And also the legal challenges, you know, around your copyright, trademarks, licensing, and theft. So those are the things we also need to look at. But now as auditors, I mean, as assurance providers, auditors, risk guys, compliance guys, we need to all join forces. We all need to join. And Dr. Cameron mentioned I've been involved in a number of combined assurance activities. I am involved currently here at EOH. And this is very key that because you're gonna need to leverage your expertise. Around cyber, you need your cyber specialists. Around legal challenges, you're gonna need to speak to your legal guys. You need them on the table. You need to understand the implications. You need your regulatory compliance guys. You need to understand what are the implications. You need to understand what controls can be built in. And the more automated, the better, most of these controls, because if you don't automate it, it becomes difficult to manage. And especially because you are dealing with technologies that, these are technologies, you know, and they have so much transactions. So you need to look at this. How are we assessing the data in terms of whether they are meeting the requirements, you know, of our regulatory requirements? Privacy, that's another thing. I mean, if someone accesses your systems unauthorized, then you're going to have this, someone's customer privacy has been compromised, you know. So we need to ensure the privacy and protection of our customer data. And I spoke about this, the transparency around how are we using our customer data? Are we using it to just send it to other people, to contact them, to sell them the telemarketing sales? Those are things that needs to change, that needs to stop. So this is very important. I mean, in the past, we've had instances where databases are being sold. And then you find people calling you and selling you all these things that they think they are wonderful. But these are the things we need to be aware of as risk and advisory specialists, and educate our business. And I still maintain we need to work closely with the project teams. And I think project assurance is becoming more and more critical, that we actually invest on that and invest on our skill set to make sure that in those technologies, we ask those questions around the risk that might happen. And I mean, those guys that are dealing with those, they understand the governance around those technologies. I think Mark was talking about that. But when we're having these engagements, we sit with them, we have those engagements, then additional items get discovered that needs to be built on them. Now, what do this mean to our profession? You know, change management, we need to be change agents. It's going to be very critical. These disruptive technologies are also bringing good news to us, because we need to automate. There's no time now that we are going to do sample selection. I think Dr. Mark mentioned that. Sample selection, yes, it still happens here and there, but we need to do away with it, because now we have access to big data. So we need to invest heavily on data analytics, understand the data. Data has a story to tell, you know, in terms of what is happening. And it can actually, the trends of that data will tell you the culture of what is happening. And it will also point you to other directions where you need to look at. So we need to operate as much of our core assurance activities to the greatest extent possible, so that we can also have greater assurance. I mean, we can obtain a high levels of assurance as large populations of transactions. We can test 100% of the population as opposed to selecting a sample. And then that also, give comfort to your stakeholders. I've mentioned this, create cross-functional work streams. So meaning relook at your combined assurance programs. Are they still fit, still relevant? Do we have the right specialists on that combined assurance? Do we need to bring in specialists so that they can actually pinpoint where our assurance gaps are, so we can address those? And when you do that, you actually then speaking to the change. There's a change in expectations from all our stakeholders, be it the board, be it the audit committee, business themselves, executive management, because they are faced now with these complexities of emerging technologies. Now they want us to give more insight and more foresight on what this means, and especially the data that is coming out of them, financial, non-financial information. What is it that they need to learn and focus on, so that there is increased focus on us as assurance specialists to assist business navigate changing risk landscape, and we need to remain relevant. I'm going to touch on how we can do this in the next slide. So if you look at the picture I've put there, audit firms now are also getting a challenge from tech companies, because if you look at data analytics, not only an audit firm does it, but a technology company can do it. There's now components that are being broken down, so we need to be wary of that. So we need to gear up ourselves. So I think I've touched on the auditing disruptive technologies, that the biggest thing here, number one, is to understand the technology. As we sit and we understand those technologies, then let's leverage specialists, in providing assurance on these emerging technologies, your cybersecurity expert, data scientists, legal specialists, seasoned in regulatory antitrust laws, licensing and patent laws. So this is very important. And this is what combined assurance drive, or others will say integrated assurance will drive. So we need to focus on this. On the next one, so I'm going to touch on the integrated assurance last. Future focused skill set. Our workforce, we need to look at this. We have been transitioning away from traditional auditing into agile auditing. So we need to agile auditing and also technology-driven or automated assurance. We need to look at this. We also need to start looking at bots, and how we can use bots in providing this assurance. But our workforce, it's important that we reassess our skill set, our skills mix. Let's balance it with the technical skills, and not only just technical, but also your business acumen. Because what's important is we cannot divorce business. These organizations are running business. So we need to understand their business, not only from a country perspective, but from a global perspective, microeconomics versus macroeconomics. What does it mean? What their business, the business of my organization, where is it going? What is happening in the market, in the economy? We need to understand those. And then from the core business perspective, then what is happening? Then you bring the technical skills. So we need to have that collaboratively, work closely with other assurance providers to make sure we drive value. As I mentioned then in the integrated assurance, that we need to drive value on this integrated assurance. You need to drive value because there's lots of investment that goes into the different assurance providers. They have components that they are providing, but we need to bring a broader picture in terms of what this means. And I mean, this digitization and COVID-19, they've proven they're reshaping the future for our work. And also what has become a challenge for auditors, or I don't know if we should call it a risk, is when you're working away from home, we are used to, I always say, auditing is not just reviewing a document, if it was signed or not, or transaction was properly authorized, or all the processes, governance processes observed. But you're also auditing a culture. When you walk on the corridor, you can tell the culture if it's toxic or how is the culture, is it warm? Because it tells you other things, toxic culture tells you that there are other things I might need to look at in another certain area. But now with that removed, how do we then, you as an auditor, this is new, but again, we are change agents. We need to embrace change and we need to drive this. We need to find new ways. Now we are working with data. So we need to drive those from a digital perspective. Not going to dive too much on integrated assurance. I think I've touched it, very key. But I think if you implement this properly, this will reduce burden on the organization. Then the organization can focus on doing business. We can continue to provide greater insights in business strategies and operations. And I mean, this is what they're looking for. And very important, common risk language. The issue is you find that you have different set of assurance providers within your organization, but you've got them using different risk ratings and things like that. And so, and that becomes chaotic, or it confuses, your committees when they look at the different reports and they see different ratings. One is saying high, one is saying critical, but what really are we saying? We need to then be careful and use the common language in which we're going to communicate to our stakeholders and what this means. Hello? Okay. Yeah, so I think it's very important. These emerging technologies are impacting our profession, and we need to gear up. And I think we need to not be fearful. I think we need to face it head on. It's more about upskilling our professionals. It's about us being open to learning exactly these technologies, and sit with those guys, understand the data, how it's structured and all of that. Sit our data analytics guys, our data scientists, and then understand where these are going, what trends are we picking up from this. So these are very important. I mean, these are doing great positive impact to our society and our companies, our economy as a whole. So we need to really look at this, and we need to change how we work and relook at our workforce going forward. And I think that's it on my side. If there are any questions, I will take questions. Yeah, Dr. Cameron. Dr. Cameron, are you there?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, so sorry about that. Okay, I was saying, I would like to find out if education institutions are actually using, adjusting their syllabus, particularly auditing, to cater for the new evolving technologies. I mean, the last time I checked, most universities are still using books like Jackson Stent that are mainly focusing on manual controls. Just to maybe, okay, I'm going to give this a shot, but what I can say is that, yeah, some universities, they're actually trying to adapt to this. I can tell you now that at UNISA, we're actually busy trying to develop a new professional master's degree in accounting. I'm mainly involved in that, and I'm trying to input some of the IT audit work, mixing IT audit work, forensic auditing, external auditing into one module, where I focus a lot on the emerging technologies and then the things that are actually coming out of the state capture, etc. I'm not sure about other universities. It's actually quite slow, but hopefully in the near future, there will be a lot of focus around including automated controls as well. Maybe Letticia, you can answer that as well.
Yeah, no, I think you are spot on there. And I think universities are gearing up. and they are partnering with some of the audit firms because even the audit firms, they have geared up on adopting tools, systems and bots in their audit. And universities are partnering with the audit firms to make sure that they gear up their material. I mean, it's very important. You cannot use the same material to respond to auditors coming to audit these emerging technologies. So there is that move into that direction. And I think even, I mean, if you look at organizations like ourselves and in EOH, we are looking at into that, partnering with universities and partnering with the institutions, the likes of yourself, SAICA and IIA, to make sure that we can gear ourselves up in terms of how we conduct our audits, our agile audits, but also when we do what do you call this, students from universities can come directly to do learnerships through us, but adopting new technologies. So there is that drive. It might not be as fast as it should be, but I think if you look at 5 years from now, there will be a complete major change.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we've reached the end of our presentation. I'm going to ask Mnobo to actually announce the winners of the competition.
Okay, good evening, colleagues. As it was mentioned, there was a competition that was running. I have the winners for the first presentation, and that is Palese Kabanelo. And then the winner for the second presentation will be making contact with you tomorrow to hand over your prizes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So the winners are
Dr.
Palisa.
Cameron?
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. The winners for the competition are Palisa, and I've missed the second name. Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation.
Second name is Mbalisi Melani.
Oh, Mbalisi Melani. Okay, thank you so much. The office will be in touch with you tomorrow to give you your prize. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. I really enjoyed the session. May you have a great evening further. Thank you. Bye. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.